Hello guys, welcome back to my channel on C# programming, object-oriented programming with C#. Alright, so in the last episode, last part, I introduced you to how to print on the screen. Now, that being said, let's go into the main thing. So now I'm going to start introducing you to C# itself, and we're going to start with the data types. Okay, data types in C#. Alright, so what is data type? So everything. So you see how we printed this guy, my first programming language, on the screen, right? We printed this on the screen. This, if we could hold this string here, this character, this text you see here, is a data type. There's a data type especially for this, right? There are numbers, in C#, like there is true or false. If something is true or false, there is data type for that. If something is a negative value, there's data, basically a number, there's a data type for that. If something is just a single character instead of a text, right? This is a text, right? But it could be a single character. There is a data type for that. So the word data, what type of data is the data type? It's called what type of data? Is it a number, or is it a text, or is this a true or false? Like something called true or false. That is what is called data type. The type of the data that we're trying to program or try to represent in a program. So that is a data type. So in C# we have multiple data types, right? So I'm going to take away this guy right here, and I'll just show you from here, right? So I'll take away this guy and give you enough space so you can see it. In C# we have, these are the top data types in C#. And I'm going to write them down, I'm going to explain them briefly one after the other, and then from that we move into another section. So this section is for data type. So I'm going to write it up here, data type. Data type. Alright, C# data type. Alright. Okay, so the types of data type we got is int for integer. Okay, so int or integer. Alright, so it's kind of like int, right? But we call it integer, but we write it as int in programming language, right? Okay, so that's that. That's one. And we also have this int actually holds number. Okay, so but there are so many other numbers, so many other ones that hold numbers. So for example, there's long, to actually hold quite a long number, and then there is float as well, and then there is double, and then there is decimal. Decimal. Right, so all of these ones are more like number data type, So all of these kind of hold number. So decimal, you know what decimal is? A decimal, maybe 10.2 or 10.3. 3 points, the point, decimal points. So that's decimal, but still a number, right? So all of these guys here hold numbers. So integer, long, float, double, double is not correctly spelled, double, decimal, all of these hold numbers, right? They have numbers, and it's just the variation of numbers. It's just how much of numbers they can hold versus, if it has a decimal point or not. So those are number data types, right? Okay, so we have another data type that is just on its own. It's called a bool or boolean, right? Bool or boolean. This represents a simple true or false. True or false. Right, so this represents a simple true or false. it's a boolean. This is very simple to understand, true or false. Okay. And there is another one, like I said, the char, right? The char represents just a character, or an alphabet. So, but maybe, for example, things like, if you do things like A, this is a char, right? It's a char. But you could also do things like this too. It doesn't have to be alphabet though. So you could do things like that too. This is also a char. So underscore, plus, and all these things. These are char, right? So that is the char data type. And then the string as well. The last one is a string. That we've actually seen the string because string is just a text. So text, like it text sentence. Let's just put it like that. Text sentence or word. Text. Let's say text. Text is a word. It could be a word or it could be a sentence or it could be anything, but it's just a text. So these are the major data types that we have. These first ones here are for numbers. This one is true. Bool is for true or false. Char is character, and then string is a text. For example, we just have a string here. That is right there. Okay. All right. So talking about the numbers. All right, so before we go ahead and talk about the number ones, I just want to give you a quick example of each of these guys. So we could see, I mean, some of these guys, not all of them, but just so we could see what is going, like what they can hold, so, and how they could be written. All right, so I just copy pasted from my notepad. So the integer, as you can see right here, you have to start with the word int or the prefix int, and then this right here is a variable. I'm going to talk about variable very soon after this. This right here is a variable. You remember on the first video when I was talking about introduction to object-oriented programming, when I talked about a class and then the class instance. This right here is a variable. This is now what we'll be holding number 5, right? Okay, so integer holds number value. Double is a number as well, but it's a number that can have more like also decimal point and all of that, and then a floating point number, right? It's a floating point number. Integer is a whole number. That explains it better, right? And then a character, like I said, char, whichever we want to pronounce it. It's something that holds a single character, like a single character, or it doesn't have to be alphabet, but a single character inside of the quotation is data type of that. Bool is a true or false, so boolean, true or false. So in this case, I'm using true. The string is a text, more like text. So in this case, the hello is a one-word text. Hello. This is a string. So going forward, we'll be using these guys as demonstration, as far as like we'll be using them to program. So you see going forward, you see that okay, we'll have integer. My number equals to 10 plus integer b equals to 7. Integer my number plus integer b equals to what? 12. We print it out as 12, right? So that's what we're going to be doing from now on. As an example, I'm going to do that right now. So we'll do integer. I'm just going to call it a. So this a is a variable. Okay, you could call it anything you like. You could say my a, whatever. You can do call it whatever you want. But in this case, just to make it simple, integer a is equals to let's say 10, and integer b equals to 20. Okay, now we want to do a plus b. Okay, and then we're going to print what the value of a plus b is. You see, they've already given us a new Visual Studio 2022 is very smart. It knows kind of a next move. So I'm going to do integer c, but instead of having its own number, I'm going to add a plus b, the value of a plus b plus b. Okay, now this is the first time I'm actually going ahead to do a little bit of calculations and programming calculations. So a plus a is equals to 10, integer b is equals to 20. And now I created a new instance, another integer, and I called it c. But this time around, I'm not going to give it a value. I just want to do the value of a plus the value of b, and this is going to be equal to the value of c, right? And then let's print this out. I'm going to print c out. And I'm going to, sorry. Let's print c out, okay? So we're printing the value of c out, and let's see what's going to come out on the console application, on the console, like on the screen. It should be 30 already, right? We already know that's going to be 30. But this is just to show you how to manipulate with an integer. Alright, it's still running, it's still loading. That is still loading. Nice. Okay, so look at that. That is 30 right there. We printed 30. So this is just to show you just a little bit of manipulation of integers and how to do a little bit of calculations with it. And that is your data types in C#, your basic data types in C#. I hope this helps you to understand the data types and what data type is in C#. Up next, I'll very briefly be talking about variables. Remember, this guy is an instance variable of an integer, instance of an integer, number 5. So we're going to talk about variables up next. Okay, so let me take away this guy. I'm going to delete this guy so we can start all over fresh from our variables section. So this is variables. Alright, so let's talk about variables. Yeah, that thing that has a what? I'm missing an A here. Okay, so let's talk about variables. So exactly what is a variable? A variable in C# is a container to store data type or to store values, right? It's more like a variable that contains to store values. So for example, we have this 10 here, integer 10. How do we store that before we can print that? So you see that right now we stored it inside of a, and then now we can do a plus b without even writing 10 plus 20. We just know that we already stored this 10 in a and we stored 20 in b. So now we can print it out as c. And now we also stored a plus b inside of c. This is a variable. So a is a variable. In this case, a is a variable, as well as b is a variable too, right? A is a variable, b is a variable. I'm just going to change that to b. And as well as here, c is a variable too, right? C is a variable. Basically, variables, if you just understand this and you just try to understand this definition, and you're good. Variables are containers for storing data values, right? Remember, we said data int is equals to 10. The integer data type has a value of 10, and we are storing it inside a variable of a, right? So That is a variable, and it's pretty much you're going to be using variable a lot. One more thing that I need to mention in C#, if you do not want to explicitly write the integer variable, integer and data type, you could use the short form of a word like var. What happens now is your C# will infer what does this 10 mean, like 10, what does it mean? It will just by itself try to figure out what it means. If it is clear enough for it, it will just infer that it's an integer. So it can hold, just know that this var here is an integer. So when I hover over it, look at it, like if I hover over it, just take a look down there, you're going to see that it's a struct system.int32. So it knows that it's an integer, as well as you could change all these guys to var as well. Or if you like, you can leave it that way. You could change all these guys to var, and it's still going to work the same way. Alright, so this is printed as var, short form, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that you're always going to use var, right? Sometimes it wouldn't know what it is. But if it knows, if it's clear enough, it will know what it is. So it's gonna, this one is clear enough, integer, straight up, right? So this is variables, and these guys here are the variables. These guys, these are the variables that is holding stuff to store values, so we can use them to calculate. So I'm going to run this again just so we know that it is correct. Is it correct? And it doesn't matter, you can mix, it doesn't say it's still 30, right? It's still calculated as 30, that's fine. So you could also just, if you're not too sure of this A, if it is an integer or not, if you're not too sure, you could do that, integer, to be sure. To be very sure that's an integer, right? If you're not too sure about this, you can be sure you can do that, integer. But it still knows how to calculate it. This one is, I'm leaving it as var. It's still not good enough. It still will know how to calculate it. So let's try it again. You want to see that? Alright, so it's still 30. Look at that, 30 right there. Okay. Alright, so this is all about the variables. I just wanted to quickly introduce variables to you so you can understand what variables is, and you could you could understand what it is. Okay. Alright, so that being said, I want to introduce you to another concept. These are quick concepts. I'm going to be progressing, as we go further. I want to introduce you to another concept called data casting. Okay, so type casting. You're casting from one data type to another. So we call it type casting, right? So type casting. Now let me tell you about what typecasting is. So for example, sometimes you have a situation where you have a value from the database coming in as, so let's say your order number, for example, we have, for example, I'm just saying, right? Is it the order number is the right thing to use? Let's say you have a scenario where you have like let's say order number, like you have int order number, right, equals to let's say 1 2 3, right? 1 2 3 4 4, right? And then you have a different thing as well, like in the database, okay, you have it as a integer, right? It's coming as integer, okay, as that. But then you have to display it. You have to display it as a string. Like on the UI, you're going to display it as a string. The UI or your user interface, your website, does not allow you to display things in integer format. So what would you do in this case? But its database is already saving as a string. What would you do, right? Database is saving it as an integer. But so what do we do? So this is where you have typecasting. You're going to typecast it to a string. There's so many ways you can do this, okay? So we could do like string here, and then you're gonna say new. Okay, let's say my order number is equal to now, because this guy is a string now. If I do this now, if I just assign this to here, it doesn't like it. It'll be complaining that look at what it's saying, cannot implicitly convert integer to string. So what do you do? Like in this case, what do you do? There are many ways you can typecast this, but for string, the simplest way to do it is to do dot to string. C# allows this. C# has this method that allows you to convert anything that you're not really sure that is a string, and you feel like you're not really sure it's a string and you want it to be a string, you want to force it to be a string, you're going to do dot to string, okay? That way it's a string now. So now you can now print this guy out on your UI, and it's going to be happy, right? So we're printing that order number. Well, this, okay, why is it taking time? Okay, so the order number is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it's printed out right there. Well, but this is just the beginning. Well, what if you want to do it the other way around? So let's see. Let me see if I think there's a different way you could do this as well. You can typecast it and implicitly write the string here in front of it. Oh, doesn't work like that. Okay, cool. Okay, so what do you want to do it the other way around? What if now this is the string? Like, this is the string, right? So it's going to complain, right? Because that's not a string. So if it's a string, you have to put this 3, 4, 6. Okay, what if that is a string now and this is the integer? So it's going to complain. Yep, it's complaining. It cannot convert from a string to integer. Cannot convert, yeah, type string to integer. Simple as that. So how do we convert this? Well, for when you're converting anything to an integer, there is nothing like dot to integer. Like you have dot to string here, like you have that. There's nothing like that. So how do you convert that? Can you do this? Can you like force it like that? Like that? No, you cannot. So the simplest way to do this is, again, C# has this thing called convert dot. You see, once you do convert, then you see that dot int 32, int 16, int 64. Int 32 is just good enough for these purposes, and then you can convert that, put it in a curly braces like that, and you are good. Make sure you close the statement with a semicolon. C# always closes their statement with a semicolon, right? So a semicolon means you've ended your statement. So that's C# for you. So this is now converting back to the integer, converting the string back to integer. So that's typecasting. Yeah, so that's typecasting, and that's how you can convert from one to the other, and then typecast and all of that. Well, if, for example, let's change this back to string and integer. No, let's do double, because we haven't done things with double, right? Let's do double. Double. 99.08. Okay. Now, if you want to typecast a double to an integer, remember these are numbers, so numbers is not too difficult. Numbers are, they're very friendly. All you need to do is just type, put integer in front of it, and then just do put integer, curly braces like that, circular braces like that, and then just do order number. This now will convert this double into integer now. right? So this is, this is a double. It's going to convert it into an integer number, thereby dropping these decimal points. Okay, so if we run it, let's run it again and see. Real quick. Right, 99. It just dropped the decimal point real quick. Right? So now you typecast from double to an integer. It dropped decimal point. That's it. It's real quick. So these are typecasting and conversions from one data type to another. Conversions. Right. Alright, so this is that. This is just a quick concept, just so you know about all of these things, before we start going to higher concepts. At this point, I would like you to take a minute and kind of review what we've discussed, before we start going a little bit deeper. I'm trying to make sure that I don't kind of confuse you or confuse you that is watching. Programming is easy, everybody can program, but if you give too much of the time, people will start getting confused. So let's pause it. Let's take a little break right here. I'm going to pause my recording as well, just so you guys can have a little breather, and then we can start all over again. Okay? Alright, welcome back to the channel again. Just continuing from where we stopped. I hope you've taken your time to review all the previous episodes. So the way this is broken down is, I did the first two parts of this tutorial is just introduction to basically telling you what object-oriented programming is, getting you the vibe, like putting you to the vibe of what it is really, because people talk about object-oriented programming a lot and it kind of gets confusing at some point. So I did 10 minutes of part 1, part 2 of that, to 20 minutes, and then after that I did the introduction to C#. So there are 3 parts of introduction that I did. Then this is more like, let's go at it, right? This is the real deal of the whole entire thing. So the first one is just introduction. So the next thing that I want to teach you is user input. So in a console application like this, what if you want to get a user input in a console application? Let's say user is going to type something, and then you're going to read what the user typed and display it, right? Or do something with it. What can we do? So again, I'm going to remove this guy. I'm going to change the name to user input. Alright, so it's complaining because that variable is gone. Right, so let's leave it like that. Okay, so if you want to impute something on this, if you want the user to write something to you, right? Basically, it's just tell the user to write, just communicate with the user, tell the user to write something and press enter, right? So basically, I'm going to tell console.writeLine to tell the console. I'm going to write this in the console. Console.writeLine. This is to let it console to print out this statement that I'm going to, I want to print out this statement, right? So I'm going to say enter your name. Then press enter. Okay. The user will enter their name, and then they will press, the user will write their name and they will press enter. But nothing will happen, because when they do that, we need to grab that name that they wrote. Right now, if I run it, it will print out this statement. But if you type your name, nothing will happen. Because we need to grab that name, which we haven't done. So I'm going to run it just to show that nothing will happen right now. When you're going to type your name, it's fine. Nothing will happen. Okay, so enter your name, then press enter. Okay. Let's just say John. Alright, Now I'm going to press enter. Nothing happened, right? That's because we've not written the next code that will read that read. Just basically, we need to write the next line of code that will read what we type in, and it is actually this console.read line right here is what is going to read it for us, right? Okay, so let's go ahead again and just do console.read line. So it's going to read it out for us. But in this time around, I want to store it in a variable var name. So it's because it's the person's name, right? So it's a name, right? And this console.read line reads string. So if you look at it very well, it's a string. Console.read line reads strings and characters and all of that. So if assuming we're trying to get a number, we would have to cast this number from this string to a number. But for now, it's good. So that's that. So the next thing we're going to do is just to make sure that it's actually reading correctly. I want to console write the line and write the name, and just say the name is. Okay, I'm just doing something I've not taught you yet. This plus here is called concatenation. So I'm concatenating this text plus this value, but don't worry about it. We're going to talk about it very soon as the lesson goes on. So I'm going to print out this name. So the name is, then I put in here the name plus the name, and then it's going to print out the name. But first of all, it would be nice to actually see if it truly read the name, right? So okay, so this is our first user inputs that we're ever doing. So let's make sure that we're doing it step by step, slowly. I don't want to confuse anybody. So if your name is Michael, you're lucky because I'm going to be using your name as an example. Alright, so let's do it. And enter. Right, I put a breakpoint here. This is also something I'm going to teach you after this, right? So you see, if I hover over it, like it got the name Michael right here. So the console.read line is working, and it got the name Michael. And then we're going to print that name Michael here. Right. This is a variable we are holding. It's holding. It's a container that holds whatever thing that is inside here. Remember we talked about variable last time? We hold it there, and then we'll print that variable here, name here. And then when we click continue at the top here, he's going to print out the name is Michael. Simple, right? That is good. You are now gradually beginning to program. You're gradually begin to ease you to programming. So if you want, you could like pause the video and just type this out here. Don't forget to put the console.read line so it kind of read this last thing that you did there. So this is that. Okay. So I want us to calculate something. Like, let's just do some calculations. Like let's do a math. Let's go. So let's say instead of enter, let's say enter first number, and then we're going to do enter second number, then we're going to calculate, right? And we're going to do multiplication, or we're going to do a lot of just a lot of math stuff. Enter first number, and then again I'm going to say, once that is done, I'm going to say enter second number, enter second number. Okay, so right now first number, second number. Okay, of course this is going to be an error, right? Because we've not got to that point. Now remember when I told you that this guy here is a string now, and we are trying to get a number into here. So what we need to do is So what we need to do now is to cast these guys to cast them to integers, because right now this read line, that is command read line, is a string. Look at it. If I override it, it's a string, and string is what it takes. We want to convert that to, remember this thing converts dot to integer to int2, and this will convert it for us, and we'll be good to go. Just like that's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. Okay. So now that is now an integer value. Now we can maybe do multiplication or addition and all of that, right? So let's do another variable for addition. Addition is equals to first number, this first number plus second number, right? Have a multiplication. Multiplication is equals to first number. No, we're not minusing, I just want to multiply. So I just, Alright, so you could see that plus, the addition is just plus, and the multiplication is just this asterisk symbol, okay? So we have these two things here. So if I decide to print this guy for addition, added, addition, and then let's print the second one again for, let's do another print on the screen again for multiplication. Okay, let's do that for multiplication, and then we have to pass in multiplication variable, remember, right there. So this should let us put in the first number, second number, and we're going to grab it here, and then we're going to display what the values of it is. So let's give it a try. Now I'm gradually introducing to a little bit multiple lines of code. So you see, enter your first number. Let's enter 5. Okay, press enter. It's going to say enter your second number. Let's enter 4. So 5 plus 4 is 9. 5 times 4 is 20. So our answer should be 9 and then 20. Okay, so you're going to see. Alright, so you see 9 and 20 right there. Okay, 9 and 20. So this is how programming is beginning to go a little bit higher. So before I let you do this by yourself, let me teach you the concept of breakpoint. So your breakpoint is what allows the code to stop, so you can inspect or debug or be more inquisitive about what is going on. So you want to run the code line by line, put a breakpoint. So where do you put a breakpoint, and how do you put a breakpoint? Breakpoint means you're telling the code to stop, by the way. So after these numbers, or after all of this, you come here, see this line, and see this C# place, this thing right there on this line. You can put a breakpoint anywhere. If you hover over it, you're going to see this thing coming around out like that as well. So if you want to put it at the start of the code, you can put it, but you cannot, I don't think it's going to let you put it at the top or anywhere over there. It has to be at the start of a method. The method, this is a method, right? We haven't gone into methods yet, but you see these curly braces, not the namespace, not the class level, but at the method level. You can put it here, you can put many breakpoints as much as you want. The code is stopping over there and all of that. And then if you want to remove it, just click on it again, click on it again, click on it again. It goes away. But let's stop here so I can show you how the debugging or how the breakpoint works. So we're going to start again. It should stop over there. Okay, so you see the code has stopped over here. And when it stopped, you're going to see this arrow pointing where it stopped. And you're going to see this little yellow thing on it like that. Now to move across each line, I'm going to just introduce this first one to you, and then as time goes on, we're going to talk about it. To move across outside, like if you're going to be line by line, like go line after one after the other, you use the middle one. It's called step over. So you're stepping over each line. So step over, step over, step over. So you say, it says enter your first number, enter 6. Okay, now it's on the second line. It says we need to run, we need to click it again, and then it says enter second number, right? Did we enter our second number? We did not enter second. Oh, okay, it says enter second number. So now we're going to enter our second number as 2, right? And then we press enter. So it now, so it got the second number as 2. It got that as 6, and then the rest of this is just the addition and subtraction and multiplication, which is just normal regular mathematics, and regular math symbols. If you want to do minus, you just remove this plus here and put minus there. It's going to minus it. If you want to do division, just remove that and put forward slash. It's going to be division, right? So that's that. That's the math operation for you in there. So we use this user input to cover some little basic math operation, and that's it. So you could now be going step by step, and it's going to print out the values right now to be that. So these are the ways you could print out stuff or write on the console and read the values and get the values from the user input to display. And also this is a simple way of doing small mathematical calculations and all of that, which is really nice. Okay, and that will lead us to our next subject, our next topic, as operators. So your operators, like when we're talking about operators, we're talking about like the multiplication, division, subtraction, and all of that. So next topic is operators. So I like to kind of introduce you, basic, like gradually introduce you to stuff so that you will not be confused, and yeah. So I'm going to delete all of these guys this time around, and we'll start afresh. We'll take away the breakpoint in this section of operators right here. Right. So basically operators are basically your mathematical, so those things you use for like operators, like the things you use for math, and you do calculations and all of that, calculating numbers and all of that. Okay, so before I do anything with the calculations, I want to start with two variables first, x, okay, x, and then also y. I'm not going to assign anything to them, just, I know there's an error here, but I'm just to make the operators look a little bit easier to understand, I'm going to start from there, okay, like that, right? So operators are plus, this is plus, minus, multiplication, which is like asterisk, and division, which is forward slash, like I said. These are your first four basic operators that we know, right? These are the ones that we know, basic, right? I'm going to call these basic operators just so we kind of know the difference. And then there are the ones that I call logical operators. Logical operators. This is what is called modulus. Okay, this is the ampersand sign. So ampersand sign, so more like a percentage sign, right? Modulus. I'm going to explain, because the first four, the basic ones, I'm pretty sure everybody knows the basic four: plus, minus, multiplication, and division. But these ones are the ones that most people may not know. Some people may know, some people may not know. So I'm going to explain this next ones that I'm going to be put it out there so you will know what is going on. Then there is the plus plus, and then there is the minus minus. I'm sorry, minus minus. Okay, so these are the logical operators. I mean, more like the logical. These are more like it's different. Like this is not the regular operators. All right. What this means is, so what I'm going to do is, what this one is called modulus. This is called modulus. Modulus. So you're going to see it put in a modulus of 5, modulus of 10, modulus of of that. This returns the remainder. So now let me just break these lines down here so we can kind of get a real sense of what it is. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to explain what this is. This returns the remainder of a division. So if you divide something, it returns the remainder. So you have something like that. The definition is returns the division remainder. Okay, so you have x. So let's say you have x modulus. Instead of division, you have x modulus y. It means that you are looking for the division, the remainder of this division, remainder between x and y. Okay, so let's make this integer so this we can really explain these things very well clearly. Integer. So let's say this is equals to 15. And this is equal to 4. Right. Okay. So if I do right here, let's talk about modulus, right? We're talking about modulus. So if I do, I'm going to do remainder. See, C# already knows. C# is very smart to know that, right? So if I'm doing that, the remainder of this division. So you see, it's kind of division. It's like looking at division, but no, we are kind of getting the remainder of the division, right? So the remainder of this guy. How many times can 4 go into 15 times? 4 divided by 12. So it's going to be 12 remainder tray, right? Are we correct? So it's 12 remainder tray. So I'm going to put my breakpoint here so we can expect that value. So this is modulus, remainder, right? So, okay, it's going to come there. I'm going to expect the remainder modulus of so you see it's 3. The answer is 3. So 15 divided by 4. The remainder is 3. So the modulus is what the remainder is. So the modulus is the remainder. Okay, so that's that. Okay, and then there is a plus plus. Okay, the plus plus means, what plus plus means is sometimes you have a counter. Something is counting from 0 to 1 or to 0 to 100, and you want it to keep counting, but you don't want to keep every time you do. So for example, we have like an integer counter is equals to 0. We want this thing to keep counting from 0 until a certain number of times, right? So what we can do is we just do this number for, okay, this is for plus plus, right? We just do counter plus plus. Now what this will do is it's going to keep increasing this guy, okay? And I want to So let's give it a test so we see. Let's say do a for loop. And then we want this number to be counting, right? And I'm putting a breakpoint in there so we could see how many times. Well, I'm going to teach you for loop right now. For now, don't worry about this. I just want to teach you the concept of count, this plus, right? Increments, the concept of increments, right? So we want to increase this number every time that it comes into this loop. We want to increase it by 1. So this plus increases a number by 1. So this increases a number by 1, just one time, incremented by 1. Okay, just so you know, there's a formal definition for it. This is the formal definition for it. Okay, increases the value of a variable by 1. So we have this integer variable here. It's called set to 0. We're going to increase the value by 1. Okay, the value by 1. So let's go. Forget about the for loop for now. I have not taught you for loop, so don't worry about trying to understand this. We will go into trying to make you understand what the for loop is. Okay, so let's go there. Right now it is 0, right? So let's see. I'm going to run it again and then just teach you what that is. Okay, this is interesting. I hope you're following, and I hope I'm not too fast, and I hope it's not confusing. My goal is to try to make sure that everybody tries to understand programming in a way that it is not confusing at all. Okay, so right now the program has come into the for loop. It has stopped right here, so that means it has incremented its value. So you see, it incremented the value by 1. So this value now is no more 0, it is now 1. Okay, so we have 1 now. This now will go into the for loop again and come here and count again and add 1 again until this thing is until it's up to 10 times, right? So it's going to come in here again. Right now the value is still 1, but once you do the plus, once it comes across the plus, it increases the value by 1, so it's 2 now. Okay, we're going to do it again. Comes again, increase the value. It's 3 now. I'm going to continue again, hitting this guy. Remember this guy just steps one line after the other, and that's how it's going to continue. So this is now 4, and this guy now is 4. This guy is no more 0, right? This value here is now 4. Okay, that is the meaning of increments, like the plus in front. Put the plus in front. It means increment, right? Right. So we go there, and then it's going to come all the way and get up to 10 times and set that value. So it's 10 now. So now this value is now 10. So I just want to let you know that each time it comes to this loop, it's going to increment it by 1 until this loop is 10 times. Then it's going to stop. So that's that. Okay. That is the plus. Okay. How about minus? We have minus here. So let's do this for minus too. Let's do this for minus. Take that away. And try this minus. This guy, as you can see, it's just the opposite. This is just the opposite of the plus. So it's just the opposite. It decreases the value of a variable by 1. So if we do plus here, minus here. Okay. What do you expect? This value is 0 right now. So if you put the value, if you put it right here, it should be minus. It's going to be minus 1, minus 2, something like that, right? Excuse me. Okay. So right now the value is 0 still, but if we do come here, the value is now minus 1, minus 2. You see, minus 2. Minus 3. So you get the idea right now. Okay, you get the idea. So this one is just decreasing. That one is the plus is increasing. Minus is decreasing by 1. Right? It's not too. So I'm going to do like 100 here, and then this should be decreasing it 99, 98, just like that. Right? 99, see, and then we go to the next one, 98, you see. So you get the idea right now. These are the operators that we have. We had the plus, minus, multiplication, division. We have the modulus, which is like the ampersand sign, and it returns the remainder of a division. Okay, and then we have the plus, which increments by 1. We have the minus, which decreases by 1. So that is the end of operators, C-sharp operators. Okay, so I hope you understood this part. You could take your time, pause this video right now, and do some examples by yourself, and just get yourself knowing what to do or knowing what you're doing. Okay, because it will help you to know what you're doing, and it will help you when you're practicing by yourself. Type and practice by yourself. It will help you. All right. I'll just give you a little bit of break or a little bit of time to kind of practice what you have learned so far before we go to the next level of operations. Well, the next one will be conditional statements. Okay, conditional statements and loops. Okay, loops, conditional statement and loops. So I'm hoping that you have well, let's just do conditional statements, right? Conditional statement first. Conditional statements. If I can just put that conditional statements. All right. So let's delete everything here. Okay. Let's start from fresh blank slate. Okay. Fresh blank slate. So exactly what is conditional statements? Conditional statements are statements that it's just, as the word sounds, condition. You have a condition and then do something. Those are the kind of statements that I'm talking about. And there are a lot of them. There are a lot of them. Actually, in the last statement, in the last example, to successfully teach you conditional statement, there are still some other operators that I didn't cover for the last example about operators. So let us go ahead and talk about different other types of operators that I did not cover, and these ones are more like a continuation of what we had before. And you have things like you also have things like plus, equal to, right? What this does is, if you have a variable, x, right, and you do plus equal to on this variable, what this means is, let's say it's an integer. What this will mean is, you are saying that every time that a loop, the last time we used a loop, right? Every time that a loop comes in, you're always adding a value 3 or 4 to this number. And we also have things like minus, equal to as well. You're just subtracting that value that is going to be on this side. My value, assuming that I have my value, you're subtracting that and appending it, subtracting and appending it to this value here, to this variable. That is that. So, but this is not used often, but I just want to mention to you, right, so you can know that and all of that. But the ones that I really want to mention today for you guys is these operators that I missed to mention the last time, there is the exclamation sign equal to. In C#, this means not equal to. So it means not equal. Right? Not equal. It's just a simple not equal. Right. That's what this means. Okay. And then there is the equal to. This means it's equal. Okay. This means it's equal. Well, yeah. So this is the equal to, and in C#, don't confuse yourself with this equal to, and then this equal to. Okay. So when you say that var x is equal to, oh my god, what am I doing? Variable integer, let's say integer int x is equal to 2. This is an assignment. You are assigning the value of 2 into this variable. This is different, right? Okay. And you say int y is equal to 3. This is assigning this variable. Now, when do we use this double equal to? We use this double equal to check for equality, to check if it is true that x is equal. Is it true that x is equal to y? That's when we use that. Okay. So, for example, if we do things like if x is equal to y, then print console.log console.writeLine true. Right. So this is I don't think it likes this guy. So this is when we use this double equal to, and then this is when we use the single equal to. Double equal to is a check for condition. We're checking for condition. That's why I was telling you that I missed some of the operators. Before we can go ahead and learn about conditions, we need to know about these operators. So that's why I'm talking about these operators right now. So this is conditional statement. It is used for conditional statement. Double equal to is used for conditional statement. Single equal to is used for assigning a value to a variable. Okay. So like we have double equal to, we have not equal to. So for example, we could say that this check if this is not equal to, then return false. Right? And then print out false. If it is not equal to, we print out false. So in this case, x is not equal to 3. So this condition will be true, and it's going to come here and print out the false. So it is true that it's not, this condition is true because it is not equal to. So this will return a true statement. And it's going to come here and print out that. Right? Okay. Okay. So we discussed about these two here. Okay, let's go forward and discuss greater than and less than symbols. In your elementary schools or your high schools, I'm pretty sure that you've been taught about these symbols. Greater than and less than. Less than symbol is the opposite of this guy. Less than. Okay, so greater than and less than symbol is also in C#. Okay, it's also used in programming languages. So it's simple to check if x is greater than y. Is it truly greater than y or not? In this case, it is not greater than y. So this condition will not pass. So it's not going to come into here. So if you're going to test this, actually we should be testing these guys, right? If you're going to test this, you're going to see this will fail, so it will not come here. By the way, we are going to get into conditional statements, and if is a condition. So if is like you're telling that if x is greater than y, then come into this, then the code should read come into this curly braces. If it is not, don't come in here. This is like a check guard. It's like a check, a guard, making sure that it doesn't come in here. So you're gonna say, oh no, I need to put breakpoints here real quick. Breakpoints. All right, let's hold on. No, it's too fast. Here we go. Okay. So let's do it again. So we'll check now. It's going to hit the breakpoint. X is 2. Is it greater than y? No, it's not. So it will not come in here. It's not true. That is not a true condition. So it will not come in. So you see it's skipped away. Okay. Now let's flip the condition. So let's do less than condition. Less than. So x is less than that. Let's return true. That is true. True is less than that. Okay. So is it less than that? Yes, it is. So this condition here is true. Okay. So it will come in here. That is more about it. Okay. Oh, I forgot to put a breakpoint in there as well. So let's go ahead and put a breakpoint there as well. Oh no, let's put a breakpoint on each statement so we can tell if it came in there or not. Alright, we're here. So it's going to check, is it true? Is it less than y? Y is that. Okay. But now if you see, if I hover over this guy, the operator, it is telling me that it's true. Look at it. It's showing that it's true. This condition is true. So it will go inside here. Yes, it is true. It goes inside there. And then also the right line. Okay. Alright, so these are your other logical operators that you can use and do stuff, right? And then we also have the greater than or less than symbol. So here we have the greater than, right? So we have the greater than or equal to. So sometimes you want it to be greater than or equal to something, right? And then we also have the less than or equal to symbol, right? So how do you use this new guys? So you could just use it here as well. Is it less than or equal to? Less than or, so it says the condition is less than or equal to. So it could be less than it or equal to it. Is it true that it's less than? Is it true that y, which is 2, is less than or equal to 3? In this case, it is less than it, so it's going to pass. But even if it is equal to 3, it is still going to pass. This is the reason why they say less than or equal to. So even if it is equal to 3, it's still going to pass. Right? So that is that. So for this case is 2, it's still going to pass. So it's less than or equal to. So it's still going to pass. But, sorry, this needs to be in front of it. I'm sorry. This needs to be in front of it. Like that. This is the proper syntax. I'm sorry. This is the best syntax. It's still going to pass. But if you do greater than or equal to, this is not correct anymore because x is not greater than and it's not equal to y. So this will fail. So if you run it, you're going to see it's going to be the same thing. It's going to same thing like we did on the greater than equal to sign symbol. So these are the two. It's just more like there's now an or to it. It's not a flat out it has to be greater than or it has to be less than. So there's a little bit of, is it equal to it or less than it, or is it greater or equal to it? So it's just a little bit of extra check. It's useful to check sometimes this is greater than or equal to symbols. They're often useful sometimes. So that is that, right? Now, with that being said, let us actually go into the conditional statements and talk about if. Okay, I'm pretty sure we've mentioned if already, but now let's talk about if for now. Let me just explain the if really quickly because we're talking about if. So this is the condition. If x is not equal to y, this is a conditional statement. And what this does is just for an explanation, of what this is. The if statement, it's a block of code to be executed if the condition is true. Okay, so if the condition is true, then the block of the code will be inside this curly braces right there. Right? For me, that's the explanation for that. Is it clear? I think it's clear, right? So this is basically if x is not equal to y. This is it. If x is not equal to y, then it's going to print this guy in. And truly, x is not equal to y, so it will print this guy out. So look at it, x is 2, y is 3. It's going to print that. So if it's just a logical check, it just checks. It helps you check. Basically, in your day-to-day life, you have, if today is, let's say in your family, you eat beef on Sundays and you eat chicken on Saturdays. If today is Saturday, we're eating chicken. If today is Sunday, we're eating beef. So this is how if is. So it's like day-to-day life stuff. You could tell that how it works. And then you've basically seen how much of all the operators that I've done. If 3 is greater than 2, I mean if x is greater than y and all of that, we've all done that already. And that, or if it's less than that, or if it is equal to that, these are the logical operations that you could do with the if statement syntax. Okay, now while we have this if statement, so what if it is not equal? What can we do? So if it is not equal, what can you do? So let's say x right now is not equal to y. But okay, so what else can we do? There's another conditional statement that follows if. It is called else. Right? This conditional statement follows if and it's called else. Right there. Right? So if it is not equal to, then it's obviously something. Let's write something. So here I'm going to say yes. Okay, so this message is appropriate for this line here because it's not equal to, and then this one is appropriate here. It's equal to that, right? So it is called if-else statement. This is called if-else statement in programming. So if something is not equal, else that if x is equal to y, do this, do this something in this block, or write your code here, write some programming code in here. Else, if it's not equal to, come in here and write some programming code here. And then we're going to run it so we can see how this will work. Currently, this is not equal to x equals to 2 is not equal to y, which is equal to 3. So we're expecting it not to go in the first block, it's going to go to the second block of code. Let's wait and see. Okay, so we come in here. So you see, it comes to the second block of code. We skip the first block of code. Basically, the else statement is more like the default statement. It goes into the default statement and say, hey, if it doesn't meet the first statement, if statement, I'm going to the default statement. That's where I'm going to next. So that's that. So it comes here and then it's going to print that guy out of that. But what if you have multiple conditions? Like what if there is not just, so sometimes if it is Sunday, if it's on Sunday we eat beef, if it is Monday we eat chicken, if it is if it is um, if it is Tuesday we eat fish, tuna fish, some fish, right? So what if we do something like that? Then yeah, C sharp has, is there. It kind of gives you that little wiggle room to have another operator that is called if else. Okay, so there is now going to be if and else, and then you have to give a condition here. So let's say if this is greater than that, else if x is less than y, then do something here. Okay, let's put it in plain light so we can see what is going on here. I'm sorry, this is else if, not if else. So it's else if. It's more like else and then if, right? So you're going to do that if this is the case. So let's say x, this is just x is less than y. Okay, so if then else, if then else is default. So if x is less than y, you do this. Else if x is greater than y, you do this. Else if x is less than y, you do this, right? Else you do that. So the else is the default, like the default stuff. Let's run this and let's analyze this carefully, and we'll understand why this is. Currently x is 2, y is 3. X is greater than y, this is false, so it's not going to come in here. This is not true. And then it's going to come in here. X is less than y, is it true? Yes, it's true, because x is less than y, so it's going to come into the next, we're going to come into that place and print that guy out, and it's going to skip the else because it's not going to come into the else because it's already met the condition. It's only meets one condition, that's it. Right, it's done, right? Then it's going to come out, and then we're done. That's it. So this is conditional statements, and there's another one called there's another conditional statement called switch. Okay, so right now we did a if statement, if block. There's another one called switch, right? The switch is similar to if statement, but it just, all it does is it just have cases. So case x and case y, and then a default case, right? So if we do things like let's say we have, I will keep the if statement here, but let's do the syntax. Let me show you the syntax of switch case, then we can go from there. That way we kind of because it's a little bit of code than just the if statement. Okay, all right. So the syntax is, you have an expression, you have something, you have a value that you're evaluating, right? You have an expression of value that you're going to be evaluating, and then you would write something to represent that thing. Okay, for example, and this is usually when you have multiple, like there's a lot of, so you see in here we just have the three conditions: if, else, if, and is. You have multiple conditions. A switch case is better to use. For example, let's say we're doing days of the week. We have 7 of those conditions to think about. We have Monday, Friday, from Monday to Sunday to think about. So in this case, it's better to consider using the switch case. And then the expression here, the expression here is more like what the value you're expecting to these cases to be. That is the expression. For example, I'm going to do int day of the week. Day of week, right? Let's do day of week. Equals to, for example, let's say 5, right? And now, the day of the week now will be the expression. So that is what I'm expecting it. So I'm expected to evaluate the day of the week and then print that, hey, today is Saturday, or today is, what day of the week is that? Right? So I'm going to do day of the week here. Okay, so in this day of the week, let's say this is 1. So the first day of the week is a Monday. So this place now should be console.writeLine in Monday, and then we'll break. And okay, console.writeLine is Monday. Right. So the case is the particular condition and the particular day. This is the evaluation you're trying to evaluate to see if it meets any of these conditions here. So the case is the condition, but I mean, if it meets any of these conditions, the case here. This here is like the condition, and then these cases are more like the conditions you're trying to check against this particular one if it meets it, right? So let's say I kind of typed all these things out already, so I'm just going to copy this down here. I just show you from here on to that guy. Right, so day of the week is this guy, and the rest of those days of the week is 2 is a Tuesday, 3 is a, so if currently our day of the week is 5, so if you know very well, it's going to be this code we step into, it will come straight to Friday. That is what it will come to, because Friday meets the number 5, and we are checking the switch to. So basically, switch to the value that is in this place. The day of the week is the value is 5. So switch to that place, and the case is 5. So let's test this out for switch case. I'm going to run it. So we'll see exactly where it's going to switch to. And then this break means stop. Like break is like break out of the loop, break out of the switch case. That's what it means. We'll come in here. So you see it switched to Friday straight up because it meets the case as 5 and switched directly to Friday. So these are conditional statements. It's very similar to if statement, if else statement, if else, if and else statement is very similar to that. But this one is more suitable when you have a lot, of the conditions to check, right? So you can use this guy. I'm using just day of the week to do a condition here, and you see it comes straight to Friday, which is the 5 here, and then we know that that day is a Friday, and then we'll break out. So it breaks, and then it's out of the loop, it's out of this switch case. Once it hits this break means get out, stop it, and get out. So if you write any code after down here, all this place is not going to meet it, it's just going to break out. Alright, so that is that, and at this point I would like to stop this series, and then after now we're going to go to loops. There is a while loop, there is for loop, and there is do while loop, and there's a lot of loops, right? So we're going to go to that after now, but right here we're going to stop at the conditional statements for this particular series. I've already recorded over 1 hour already, and we're going to continue from this point. That we're going to do loops, and we're going to learn all about loops, looping, and all of that. Let's go from there. So please subscribe to my channel and like this video so that the YouTube algorithm will suggest this to some some other learners to come in and learn, because we want to teach as many people as possible. We want many people to know that programming is not that difficult, and I also want to have some subscribers so that my channel will grow. It's just the reward for the work that we're doing is just to see your channel growing. So please subscribe right now. Please hit the subscribe button. Thank you very much. I appreciate you viewing my video. God bless you for all you do and all the days of your life. Amen.